Welcome to Tweener Madness, the high-stakes startup showdown where 8 promising companies go head-to-head for a $25,000 investment prize from the Triangle Tweener Fund. Each episode, founders from 2 companies will step up and pitch their vision to our selection committee. They'll face tough questions, defend their business, and make their case. Then, after both have had their shot, the selection committee will decide who moves on and who's heading home. This is the Exceptional 8, where only the sharpest startups survive. Here's your host, General Partner of the Triangle Tweener Fund, Scot Wingo.
All right, we are here in this round. We're going to have Deliveri with Jason Brown here. He is representing the company, CEO, founder. And then on our selection committee, we have to my left, Robbie Hardy, Michael Jones, and Jason Kaplan. We don't do intros on this part because we've put those out already. And so you can go to Tweener Talks and find the Tweener Madness selection committee videos. MJ and I are going to finish his up, and by the time you see this, it will be out there, I promise. So, Jason, you have 10 minutes, and any questions before you get into it? Selection committee, any questions? Everyone good?
No,
we're
good.
All right, here we go. We're
ready?
We're in.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason Brown. I'm the founder of Deliveri. And at Deliveri, we are building an e-commerce logistics tech stack for direct-to-consumer brands in the US, Canada, and Latin America. Now, if you're a business owner, small business owner, and you decide you want to create a brand, you typically do a few things. You look up Shopify for your web store, you source your product, you integrate your payment system, maybe at Stripe, PayPal. But what many people seem to neglect is their logistics part of their business, especially when it comes to e-commerce. So by the time they start thinking about their logistics, they start getting inundated with all of these different options. You have rate aggregators, return services, insurance for your shipping, tracking, duties and taxes if you're doing international shipping. All of these services are independent of one another, and none of them have a single platform that does all of these. And on top of that, they cost tens of thousands of dollars a year. So for these small business owners, they typically can't afford these solutions early in their business stage. That is why we are taking the best pieces of a lot of those services and creating what we call a lightened version of that with tools like branded tracking pages, rate comparisons, the ability to bring your own accounts. So even if you are partnered with couriers, you can even bring them into our platform and use those rates yourself. Duties and taxes for international shipments, we insure your packages, and then we're also connected to your web stores like Shopify, Etsy, WooCommerce, and others. And then we also have a unique service for international returns for customers shipping into the US, giving them the ability to offer returns to their end users in the US. So we're building this as the logistics tech stack, similar to what Supabase is for developers. We are trying to be that for e-commerce businesses. So as I mentioned, we provide insurance for all of these packages as an option. Users can insure their packages. They can bring their own accounts, the international returns, and now with the talks of tariffs on the table and everybody being concerned about what the actual landed costs are in today's world, we have the ability to bring you upfront duties and taxes and pay for those duties and taxes at checkout. And then later this year, we would like to launch our branded tracking pages. And then, of course, we have our rate shopping. So we partnered with major couriers, FedEx, UPS, DHL, USPS, and we negotiate discounted rates where we can save our customers up to 85% on their shipping labels. And then we pass those savings on to our customers so they can purchase and print their waybills, track their packages, and create an entire new brand experience built around the logistics part of the business. And then we take all of that and we wrap it into an enterprise API so that we can service upstream customers like family-owned fulfillment operators, local operators who have a small fulfillment business, or maybe a bigger business company that has their own ERP system and want to integrate some of these services. Why is this such a big deal? Well, first, because we're landing on Shopify first. Shopify has over almost 2.5 million users, stores today, and they're growing around 66,000 new stores every month. multiply that by our LTV, around $2,200 per customer per year, we're looking at an $8 billion per year underserved market in the Shopify, just in the Shopify space. That's not to mention the Etsy market that we are anticipating tapping into. And then even if you don't use a web store, you can still use us. You don't have to have a web store. And then when you look at the global e-commerce market as a whole, the B2C market, it's growing exponentially every year. A couple of years ago, it was over $1 trillion market. And by 2030, it's expected to be over $7 trillion of global e-commerce. And because we focus a lot on cross-border shipping, which is unique compared to a lot of these other businesses, we are anticipating expanding into that entire market. The way we make money, we have three payment models. So we have a pay-as-you-go model. So all these businesses can use our services on day one. It's free. There's no subscription to use it. We make money on the labels. So every time you buy a label, we have a markup. We make money on that. We make money on the insurance that you buy. We self-insure all these packages up to $500. Anything over that, we buy from the courier. And then duties and taxes also have a fee associated to that we take to provide that for you. And because we are the broker, well, we're not the broker, but we provide a brokering service on top of that. So for all of that, we provide a small fee. And then we have for things like branded tracking pages, the returns. So we'll have subscription tiers into those different services. The API, those will come with subscription models on a monthly SaaS. We have pre-product traction. So we have over 2,000 shipments in our wait list, equating to around $40K a month in expected revenue, gross revenue. And we are partnering with Hello Alice for a go-to-market campaign that will send an email out to their 1.5 million small businesses with an exclusive offer for their customers that will be launching around April timeframe. So back to the go-to-market strategy, Shopify is our beachhead. We will have a Shopify app on their app store. We can also pay to have that promoted to the top of the app store, which we plan to do. And in addition to the Hello Alice campaign, we anticipate at least around 1,000 to 1,500 customers responding and signing up to that email. And that's in a very conservative number. It's 0.1% of the 1.5 million. And then later this year, we'll do another offering with them for other services as we get closer to the holidays. Our founding team has built logistics products before. Myself, I previously worked at another logistics startup prior to this, where I gained a lot of experience in international shipping, software. Our CTO, Norman Santos, has over 30 years of tech experience building tech products. And Jason and Ivan are our two developers who've built everything that we have to date. We've been extremely lean in how we built everything, and we have a really amazing product right now, and we're anticipating launching next month. So far, I was recently a winner on David Meltzer's 2-minute drill back in December when it launched, which has been a great response, and I'm getting private coaching from David for the next couple months. And last summer, we were a top 250 company in the Entrepreneur World Cup with the Global Entrepreneur Network and the top 10 company in the US as well. And then this past fall, I was a fellow with the FCAP program in the fellowship. We are raising right now. We're seeking $500,000. We've raised $125,000 of that so far. We're raising it on a safe. And that money is going to be used to build out the branded tracking pages and the international returns process, which requires some fulfillment space here in Raleigh. And we are going to use that for our marketing and lead gen campaigns that we use to acquire customers. We are also, as I mentioned, 3-month post-launch, anticipating over 1,000 customers, around $185 a customer per month in revenue is our predicted take. So seeing around 185 MRR. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks Jason.
Very
good job.
You're focusing on sort of the new businesses that start on Shopify, like there's a sweet spot that you've got. My question is, when does that sweet spot go away? Like when do they eventually grow out of you? Like what does that look like? And then do you think that there's enough opportunity for that to be okay, that they're like, moving away, almost using the example of, hey, we're someone who uses QuickBooks and we inevitably have to go to NetSuite and something else. Is like how you're thinking about it, and like just how big is the segment as a result of that?
Yeah, so over 50% of Shopify businesses are 1 to 9 employees. Like it's actually kind of rare that they scale exponentially to QuickBooks to a NetSuite situation, right? And for the ones who do scale, that's where the API comes in as long as possible, and the bring your own accounts. Because even though you may go to the courier and have enough volume to negotiate discounted rates, great, bring it in. You still need a centralized platform to shop those rates out. And we provide that, and we just charge a subscription to access that or to turn that on, and then there's a small fixed fee per label on that. But that's kind of the, like as you mentioned, the more growth model. But even I talked to some customers I talked to a girl who's selling 20-ish thousand beauty cosmetic products a month, and she's just now starting to look at using fulfillment. So I think a lot of it depends on your business model and your strategy, but knowing the small business user on Shopify or the user on Shopify, they tend to stay small or
so they're not
kind of stay in their
the cost of change.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing $1 million or $2 million a year and they're happy with it, right? And that's okay.
So nice job with that. Nice study too, by the way. I had a couple of questions that were kind of tied together into one, really. So the plan is to go live next month, and you've got this base of, you said 40. How many customers are on the wait list?
The customer base is actually, the wait list is pretty small, but it's a few customers that have large volume. And then we're going to launch a campaign. And you think they'll actually go live? You think they'll go live? Like a wait list is different than... Sure, yeah.
They'll sign up?
Yeah. I'm in touch with them. I'm sending them images, getting feedback, like screenshots, meeting with them regularly to...
And then when does Alice send out their email? Alice sends out an email.
Oh, hello, Alice. That is when I decide. I just, whenever I'm ready, I call them up. Hey, I'm ready. Here's the media content that you need, the images.
And then the Shopify piece goes live when?
The Shopify app will be live when we go live. We'll launch on the App Store right away as well.
And then what's the relationship with Alice?
The Hello Alice?
Yeah, like what do they get off of this?
Give us some background for folks that don't know.
Yeah,
Hello Alice.
sure. So Hello Alice is like a collective / organization, kind of like an SBA, like your local SBA, and they provide resources to a lot of small businesses and minority owned. And it's not just US, it's actually a lot of LATAM as well. The founder, Carolyn Rods, is Bolivian. So she actually approached me in Puerto Rico and I pitched and mentioned that we would be a great fit for her customers. And so they provide, corporate partners come in, offer deals and discounts to access that base, and then they provide resources, webinars, educational content, and I can even do a webinar with them, talk about e-commerce, things like that. So I have a great relationship with them, and they've agreed to put us on. So we'll offer them probably an at-cost discount for the first 100 shipments to join, and then after that, we start making money. But at least we don't lose money doing it. We're still kind of working.
So their members get a special offer, an exclusive offer. That's kind of their economic benefit, and you get huge customer acquisition.
Exactly.
So do their members pay? I don't know.
No, it's free. You guys can all go join, sign up, and you get added to their emails. You can join their webinars, and then they have a whole offerings page, so you can get perks to, Amazon credits or a Verizon phone discount for your business kind of thing.
I'm going to go sign up now.
Yeah.
This podcast sponsored.
So you mentioned a couple times that this is a tech solution in a world where the logistics part is going to actually matter. Like what actually happens with the box that kind of ships around there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's easy to think that you're going to get away with not being part of that in a much deeper way. So I know you said, hey, at the end of the day, we're going to integrate with a customer on one end, and then on the back end, there could be a bunch of logistics, like actual logistics capabilities that you're actually plugging into. I guess question one is, what's the plan if you're wrong on that? Meaning that you're actually going to have to go deeper and potentially actually be a logistics person, which is possible. The second is, if you shook your head, which I think is a smart move for the record, then it becomes, why doesn't Shopify or someone else try and do this? Because one of the things that you've seen them slowly start to do, which they hadn't done before, is value add for their platform customers. And in a lot of cases, they oddly don't choose the larger enterprise as much as they do some of the small business. So I'm curious, what do you do if something like that happens?
Good question. So Shopify, it doesn't benefit Shopify to compete with apps on their app store. Same way Apple doesn't go and create apps that are on your iPhone, right? I mean, they have some, but they don't have. But they don't have all of them, right? And so you can't have a store, a marketplace, as part of your business, and then go and compete with everybody on your marketplace and just take the business away. Nobody will ever want to be on your store. Shopify has a logistics, like you can buy labels from Shopify, but it's usually just USPS and just UPS. And it's very basic, right? There's a couple services that you get to choose from. And it works, it's fine. But what we're saying is there's more to it than just that. One, you have more options. We can add couriers as we go, we're gonna add more. And then you wanna have a centralized platform so you can view the tracking, respond to issues, and we'll handle those. If you have an issue, a missing package, you come to us, we handle it. So it's still just a better service. And laws of comparative advantage tells you that Shopify it's not in their best interest to go spend a ton of time. They're focused on building you the best web store product that they can do for you. So
does this mean you would say no if they wanted to buy you?
No, I would say yes immediately because they actually have bought people like us, like Deliver with 2 R's, I think, at the end, for like $4 billion a few years ago. And Alibaba, I've met with Alibaba as head of partnerships there, and they're very excited because we actually have a great, where their customer relationship ends, ours actually begins. So we actually share the same customer because they're sourcing from Alibaba to get their raw materials, and then they're finishing them, and they're selling them on Shopify or Etsy or eBay, wherever they're selling it. And then Alibaba doesn't really work in that space after the sale. So we're trying to help you get that product out your door to your customer with a better experience at a lower cost than you otherwise would have, especially earlier in your business's life cycle.
What is onboarding a customer like? I mean, you need this to scale. You need volume to make this work. So what is onboarding like? I know it's not always easy, and a lot of things, fall apart at that point. Well, we talk about the back end, but the front end is...
Yeah, no, it's super easy. On the back end, we have a very complex system tied with HubSpot and our admin panel and all the back end AWS integrations.
But it's the simple stuff that sometimes the new customers don't get.
So in the US, it's a little easier because we don't have to deal with like VAT taxes. Whereas in LATAM or other countries, you have VAT, which we've already built all this in the back end, but we're going to hide it for the US customers, which is where we're launching first. But it's super simple. We walk you through a simple questionnaire, through a couple steps. You actually can create your account immediately, super easy. And then we get some basic data just about what your current rates are, like how much you're shipping today, so we can see if you scale and what our expectation is of you as a customer. And then all we really need from you is your name, phone number, business address, and email, and that's about it. And from immediately you can go start buying discounted labels from 4 major couriers.
Tell me your perfect customer and then one that would not be a good fit at all. But to be clear, I don't want you to say, hey, Walmart wouldn't be a good, like I got that part already. It's more this in the space we're looking at, this would be a really good customer for us, or types of customers. These ones would not fit. And especially on this part, like why would they not fit?
So the ones who fit, the way, even our UI, it's designed to be super simple, right? We took a lot of complex pieces, and I simplified it to make it super consumable as a user. So our ideal customer is that person who is, hey, they're first time on Shopify. It's their first time integrating their payment system, and they just made their first sale, and they're super excited. And they have a product. They're in business. They're now going to grow and hopefully grow to great heights. And we want to be with them, part of that conversation on day one. So it's, I need a Shopify store, I need a payment system, and I need Deliveri to do my logistics because it does everything and it's free and doesn't require any kind of technical integration at all. So that's my ideal customer. Who it's not for is the very large brand who's using a fulfillment operator, for one, a drop shipper who doesn't have an affinity to their brand, because these are people who actually care about the brand experience. And a lot of people neglect logistics when it comes to brand experience. They made the sale, they did enough to acquire you and make you buy it. They don't really, they're there, that's it. But especially in international sales, you need to have a brand experience because I don't know if I can trust that seller, and you don't know if you can trust that buyer, especially overseas. So we're trying to bridge and kind of alleviate that mistrust and build trust.
Cool. All right, we got time for one last question each. Robbie?
So the big guys, so these people grow, if they grow, and I know you're not going after that, but there is a cost of change if they do decide to go something else. So what if, it's always interesting to me when, companies that deal with big clients and they're the small ones, and they expect them to change to get up here. So what if the big guys, do you have any insight as to any of the big players that maybe they would acquire you, that would be lovely, but to go small so that people have a continuity, because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of things here.
So I feel like brand owners, especially in e-commerce, they're pretty fickle in the sense that they don't there's a reason they're already an entrepreneurial brand owner. It's because they kind of already go against the mold of corporate, right? So they really do support other small brands and other small businesses. So, because they're a small business.
Right.
So there is that affinity to the fact that we speak and that we are specifically built for that early stage, that if a big company came in and tried to service that, right, like an Oracle or somebody, right? It's the same concept of NetSuite and QuickBooks, which I love that example. And
we all don't know why it's still going on.
And look, there's people who don't use Shopify, right? There's people who build it from their web store from scratch and code it, which is fine. And you can still be our customer, but to make things easy, you want to have a very simple, easy to use platform. And if we are paying attention to you at your level and not ignoring that, then I think there's value.
And probably growing some
and
with
hopefully
them.
Growing with you.
Right.
And we have some, with the Bring Your Own Accounts and the API, our goal is to grow with you to some degree. And even if fulfillment operators, because I've spoken to some, would implement the API just to even have access to the rates. And then they can allocate some of their logistics managers to a different role inside their fulfillment operation.
Cool.
All right, my last question is a very optimistic question. Is when you started this, Jason, what's going to be your long-term vision? What does this look like for you? What does success look like over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think in the next 5 years for sure, if we can prove that we've expanded into these other countries successfully, then that's successful to me. And being kind of the de facto conversation placeholder when you talk about setting up an e-commerce store. And then growing it into about, in the 5 to 10 years, we start getting the conversations from the major players for an acquisition, from an Alibaba or Shopify or an Etsy or Flexport or somebody like that who makes a lot of sense.
All right, up next we have InviteJet featuring Paul Davis and Brian Watson. Who's CEO in this mix? Do you guys thumb wrestle for that, or have you decided? Or
we're co-founders.
Co-founders. All right.
That's right.
TBD. So that's going to be a fun discussion. We may get into that in Q&A. We may have some recommendations on that one from our esteemed panel.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, let's go ahead and start your pitch.
All right, sounds good. So I'm Brian Watson. This is Paul Davis, like we mentioned before. We're the co-founders of InviteJet. InviteJet is a marketing platform that allows brands to leverage the power of calendar invites as a marketing tool. So this is Jenny. She's a fitness enthusiast, and she's been keeping an eye out for weighted jump ropes from Crossrope. She gets 120 emails a day, however, so she completely missed their last campaign. This is Andy. He's a real InviteJet customer, and he's in charge of marketing over at Crossrope. His last email campaign had a 30% open rate, which is great by email marketing measures, but that just means that 70% of people didn't even see his campaign at all. That's when Andy found out about InviteJet. Now, because Andy has an established email relationship with Ginny, he can leverage the power of InviteJet to market to her in the moments that actually matter, not leading up to a promotion, but in the promotion time. As soon as Andy was able to use our one-click integrations to integrate his marketing tech stack into InviteJet, creating his first campaign was a breeze. He simply adds the information he wants to appear in the invite. He imports his audience from something like Klaviyo or Mailchimp, and then clicks send invite. On Ginny's side, she gets a mobile push notification in real time as the invite is sent, and then again when the event actually happens, so that she's getting marketed to in the moment that actually matters. So Andy, like I mentioned before, he's a real InviteJet customer, and he did a holdout test for us in our beta test period. He did a holdout test, so he sent 80,000 emails via Klaviyo and 50,000 invites via InviteJet. Now, as you can see, the metrics are pretty mind-blowing, hence the emojis, right? But the real standout here is that the conversion rate was 4 times greater than email, and we generated double the revenue with half the audience size. 7 million invites later, we're still kicking email marketing's butt in terms of metrics. And this is a brand channel where brands spend $7 billion a year on this marketing channel. Our beachhead market is e-commerce brands that are analytics savvy in the 6 to 9 figure revenue range. We are a B2B SaaS company, so we charge subscription pricing based on your volume of sends each month, and then we also charge overages based on your usage as well if you go over your subscribed amount. Our average monthly contract value is $255, and we've managed to get up to 35 paying customers, and we launched last September, so 6 months time frame. A bottom-up look at the market opportunity here. This is your TAM slide, right? But we like to take the bottom-up approach. So this is how we get to $100 million in revenue in the next 5 years.
Jason's going to want one of those out to 10 years, but we'll get back to that.
That's totally fine.
Of course he does.
If you could do it 2035 real
We'll
quick.
get there for sure. We're a first mover in this space, and we've got a 3-horizon approach. We stole this approach from a Boston consulting group, right? Yeah. So the first phase for us is calendar marketing, which we've done really well in terms of proving the concept out and actually getting customers, building out the MVP. The next phase that we're kind of currently in right now is this integrations and automation space. So we've already done some really good work in terms of one-click integrations. Paul's been in e-commerce for 15 years, but he's not technical, so he's the perfect guinea pig for all of my building. So I got to make it very easy for these brands to jump in and experience a low time to value. So that's the golden standard, basically, in those integrations and automations. We also want to build out a third-party API because we don't know how everybody's going to use this calendar tech, right? There could be, in terms of usage, in terms of like brick and mortar, for instance, you're getting a haircut, or you're getting your nails done, or something like that. There's an opportunity there to actually patch up leaky funnels in terms of appointments and things like that are missed. When you go book your Delta flight, you get a nice calendar invite the time of the flight. But with boutique hotels in New York, for instance, you don't get that same calendar invite. So we want to offer this calendar technology not only for calendar marketing, but for patching up leaky funnels as well. And who knows what else when we offer the third-party API. And then, third horizon thinking is AI-enabled time-based marketing engine. And there's actually a really big data play here as well. Like the boutique hotel example, if we have that data of when you're checking out, Uber probably would be really interested in that data, right? To market to you in the moment that it actually matters to you as well. We're a repeat founding team. We've both built SaaS companies and exited them before. Paul, like I said before, has 15 years of experience in e-commerce, so he's got a wonderful network to sell into. It's where most of our beta brands come from. We've done a lot of founder-led growth through Paul's network. I'm the technical co-founder. I've built product and engineering teams at VC-backed startups, as well as public companies. And then we've got a good list of advisors. You can't see because the font's really small, but one is ex-Gmail, who's been really informative in terms of their privacy laws and things like that, regulations. We don't want to skirt any boundaries there. And then Matt Simino from Amped, who his company was recently acquired by Mailchimp. So it's very good for him to talk to us about long-term strategy and things like that as well. That is it for us. Thank you guys for your time.
Awesome. So you're worried about time and you had 4 minutes left.
Oh,
I forgot 5 minutes. It was so engaging. I was like, I forgot to watch
Launch makes us do a 2-minute pitch every week. So it's, we've got it down to a science.
Awesome. Great job, guys.
So my question is, well, I've got a bunch of questions here I wrote down, but one of them is like around the feeling of spam. And I think I talked to you guys about this before. How do you think about that? How do brands think about it, and also the recipient? How do you get around it?
Sure. So I've got 2 quick data points for you. The first is a personal one. My wife, she is a Bath and Body Works lover, and every year there's a candle sale. Okay, and every year she misses the candle sale, and literally the week after the candle sale, she'll say, "Oops, I missed it," and spend $200 on candles. Okay, so someone like her needs that calendar invite. So that's something that she welcomes. And then the other thing, in response to kind of spam and unsubscribe, so when we first started this, we were worried about that as well. And so at the bottom of every calendar invite, we have the Hotmail hack, the powered by InviteJet, but we also don't hide the unsubscribe, right? We want people to be able to get out of the calendar flow if they want to, right? So when they click that unsubscribe, they have the option of getting out of calendars, getting out of emails from this brand, or both. But what we're seeing with the data is really surprising. I think unsubscribe rates for email on average are 0.05% or something like that, and we haven't touched that yet in terms of unsubscribes and spams. So
you think about it as more like they are already warm connections?
Oh yes.
What about cold connections? How do you think about that?
So we don't allow. We don't allow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I very specifically put that in the pitch of, because Andy has an established email relationship with Jenny, he can market to her calendar.
Another thing, especially with the cold outbound sales and stuff like that, we enforce you connecting your domain. That's obviously connected to your deliverability and your domain health. And then outside of that, obviously, keeping track of those spam markers, bounce rates, unsubscribes. With new customers that come in, we're going to throttle those sends just to be able to manage. If they're approaching that threshold, we will shut them off.
We're students,
use it for good, not for evil.
Yeah, we're students of the space, and with Mailchimp being down the Southeast company, one of their things that they do really well with spam. Of course, they've done so much in the spam space, but the first thing that they did was, hey, we're going to throttle your first 1,000 sends and make sure that you're not using this for evil. If you are, we're shutting you off. We're kicking you off the platform. If you're not, then we'll open up the floodgates and let you send these invites out.
Okay, thanks guys.
MJ?
Am I right that you guys founded this out of, is it you that has a tea company or something?
Yes,
subscription
sir.
company? Okay. So tell me, I would like to hear from assuming that you're the guinea pig in this whole thing, which I'm assuming the answer is yes. So tell me in the, whatever time frame you want.
Sure.
3 months, 4 months, I don't know, you pick it. But tell me, what is it that you saw that was just so astounding, for your business that was oh my God, this, tell me the aha moment. And then what were some things that came from that?
Talk about the Kickstarter and the Black Friday sale.
Yeah, so these 2 examples. So 2019, I was launching Mozie Tea on Kickstarter.
Okay.
I knew from just my experience within e-commerce that there was a trend of email engagement rates, SMS engagement rates going down. With Kickstarter, it's super important on day 1 to hit your goal and to get that momentum going for the campaign to be a success. I knew that I was at the mercy of if or when people were going to open those emails. And so literally days before the campaign, I'm sitting there and I see my own calendar reminder for when I was going to be launching the Kickstarter. And that's kind of when the aha moment happened. Why doesn't everybody have this on their calendar? It is a time-based event. They've shown interest. They've given consent. I have people on this list. They probably want to show up. It was because of those calendar notifications the day of the launch. We hit our funding goal in less than 5 hours and then went on to raise over $500,000 on Kickstarter.
He sent those calendar invites manually. He sent 20,000 calendar invites manually.
It took a few days. InviteJet wasn't a thing then. So that experience sat with me, and just being able to help brands monetize the calendar, something that we look at every single day outside of our phones or email. This was just a blue ocean space that we saw as if people love brands enough to allow them on the calendar, that's a really powerful place to be. The second example, so years later, Brian and I met and we started working on this project. And come 2023, I wanted to give it a test on my own store, Mozie Tea, and use the same campaign information that we had the previous year during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We saw 400% growth on the day of, which our growth to that point was maybe 20% month over month. So a massive growth just on that very day for the invites that were sent.
And are you basically saying that when you did your apples to apples test, it was same people, same offer, different method for delivery?
Different method of delivery, and we did do a smaller test with the same people that were within that. We obviously grew our list as well,
right,
and had that separated. But of that list, it was a 400% growth.
So talk to me about conversion.
Conversion?
Yes. So to revenue. So you get them out there, you get them on the calendar. These are known people to you somehow. So they know who you are, or they know who the brand, not you guys, but they know whatever the deal is. What's the conversion rate? What was the conversion rate for your tea, for example? You had a 400% increase in, getting on people not throwing you away.
I'll admit I don't remember the conversion rate for that campaign.
Well, you can make it up because we'll never know.
100% conversion rate. No, what I do know is, and maybe if you go back to the crossrope slide, there. So over the 7 million-ish invites that we've sent thus far, our average conversion rate is around that 6%. Email marketing is going to be anywhere from 1.5 to 3%-ish. I think this is due to being able to really get that open rate up. So calendar invites aren't considered promotional, so they're going to skip the promo tab. So that offers more eyeballs, which increases the click rate, which in effect increases the conversion.
To add to that point, one thing that we have started measuring lately is revenue per send, because we're interested, that crossrope example, right? They sent half the audience that they did with email. And that's typically what we see in our sales cycle, is that these brands want to test it out first, and then they want to jump in full head of steam. So the one metric that we really like to point to is revenue per send, right? So with email, I think it's like 15 to 25 cents per send.
Yep.
In revenue. With us, our low end starts on 25 cents, and we've seen results up to $1.35 in terms of revenue per send.
Tell me how this doesn't work.
How doesn't this work?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, the answer's not on the slide, I promise you.
Never got that question.
We both looked back. Literally. Well,
It doesn't work.
Like when you play, okay,
It's the
so
appendix.
let me, I'll seed it a little bit, which is, so you guys have, I think, very thoughtfully been like, you know what, this is to use your term, a blue ocean space that no one's kind of really seen in marketing that's really good, which, by the way, kudos to you guys for that. But then it becomes like, okay, something, I don't know what it is, steps in the way of that blue ocean, and now we're in like muddy waters, whatever that may be.
yeah, sure.
What's either next, or what makes sure that doesn't become like the end? Or maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. Maybe there's something else that would happen.
So competition, honestly, that's great. Honestly, I don't shy away from competition. I'm kind of energetic and would welcome competition, but so to me that's a proof point that we're doing something right. Even if an 800-pound gorilla came into the space which I don't think they're going to, because they innovate through acquisition more than they innovate through iteration. But to me, the biggest risk I think that is out there is platform risk, which it would be very technically difficult for somebody like Google to say, no, you can't send calendar invites, right? And we've talked pretty extensively with our advisor about that and whatnot. But that's the one thing I would say, that if some Google or Microsoft or something said something like that, like no calendar invites, then we'd be up a creek.
I'm not concerned about that from the Gmail side of things.
Me neither.
People send billions of invites every single day, even at scale, we're not going to touch that. And really, Google just went through a policy change last year. That usually doesn't happen except every 3 to 5 years, and that has to go through SEC. I think if we're doing this right, there will be like a little checkbox eventually where it's like accept calendar invites, accept email, the same way that you do email and phone number. Right now, that's not required. My guess is that will be a requirement eventually. But good question. I don't
Here's a
foresee-
note. So I'll be the straw man this. So Klaviyo sees you guys importing and exporting all this. And they're like, whoa, I don't know what this is, but the conversion rates are bonkers.
Right. Yeah.
Let's build it ourselves. What do you do there?
I personally don't think that they're going to do that, right? So I worked in corporate venture capital for a while, and our approach was, hey, we're going to invest in these 5 or 6 companies. We're going to take a wait and see approach, right? Most companies don't want to build a team around a feature or product and actually go build it, and take a year to do that with budgets and red tape and blah blah blah. It's much easier to fund it, take a wait and see approach, and then acquire and make that part of your suite, which we saw with SMS, play out that same exact way.
And honestly, if tomorrow Klaviyo launched a calendar feature, I would love that, because their reach just increases our chances of being able to make a splash and being first there. We saw it with Amped, right? MailChimp had pop-ups. They already had that software. Yeah. Amped came along, built it better, got a bunch of brands on board, and then they acquired them. So we would welcome the competition, honestly. That helps with the Google search results for calendar marketing.
Right.
Sure.
So you don't have to create the market.
We have to create that,
right.
yeah.
Which is
There's a lot
always
of
so
education
expensive.
Not too dissimilar from influencer marketing and a lot of the brands that in recent years have popped up. That was hard in the beginning for them, but now it's catching like wildfire.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our last questions. Robbie, kick us off.
So we've left this alone. You're co-founders.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I assume your investors are saying, "Hello, what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
So what are your plans? Because we know. Yeah.
Honestly, we've gotten good feedback on. We're 50-50 split. He's product and engineering.
We'll play rock, paper, scissors for it.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But when you grow,
When we grow,
there's a reason that
CEOs?
Yeah.
No,
So no pushback
We're
with
totally against co-CEOs for sure, but we'll kick that can
And a
down
team
the
of
road
2?
if you don't mind. We will kick that can down the road.
So you don't think this round will cause it to
No,
happen?
I don't.
I don't.
It's not.
It'll be at the
indicated that
conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In all honesty, this the VC that's possibly coming on, we're looking at them as more of a partner than somebody who's going to come
Robbie,
in.
has this not worked before? So you're scratching away at this. Give us the.
Well,
what have
no,
you-
I
have
mean,
this-
I've
has this
seen
worked
it
before?
work, and I've seen it horribly not work.
So we like to call
Where it's
ourselves,
everything is fine until one of
Yeah.
you wants to, and
Where it
it's-
really doesn't work is if you've never talked about who's going what % of the company. That's
Well,
that's
the cap
a total
table
check.
is a
So at
big
least
deal.
you've had that conversation.
Right.
So
So
we'll
you-
give
that's
you-
the beginning.
we'll give you a
we
Yeah.
go to the same church. It took 5 years for us to meet. We actually met down in Ecuador, but at this point we're almost 2 years into this, and we're like an old married couple. We're fine having those
Yeah.
spats. And
Right, but
If you
shit
disagree, you can
happens.
go to your minister.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be
Yeah.
like, "Now, wait a minute. What's an InviteJet?"
Exactly.
yeah.
Anyway,
But we're nobodies from nowhere, we like to say. But at the end of the day, we're like peanut butter and jelly. You combine us, and it's a superpower. So
all right, go for it.
yeah.
That won't last, by the way.
No.
Just-
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna say it as it is. At some point in time, you have to know who's going to be the final decision maker.
Yep.
Period. And then I'll leave the rest of it alone.
So you might as well start working on it.
So out of the 35 customers, I'm sure you've had some churn along the way. What have you guys learned? What are the takeaways from the customers that have left?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest learnings is,
And I know it's early too, like since launch.
it is early, but one thing that we've known from the beginning is that people are going to send less calendar invites than they're going to send SMS, than they're going to send emails. And we're okay with that. I think that one of the tasks that we have at hand is giving people reason to use it. So oftentimes, if you're a brand that maybe is focused on the larger scale holidays, maybe there's less use cases that they know of. So how do we educate and provide playbooks for them to use it multiple times in different ways? Like I mentioned, the unengaged audiences, or someone recently used, they had an invite for a shipping cutoff for Valentine's Day. Like, this is by the time, if you order by this time, then it will show up. So it's providing value in that sense, and making sure that they have ways to use it. That, if anything, when we've had churn, it's because they just put it on pause and they're going to come back next month for that next big sale. And they just didn't want that recurring aspect, which we're already in discussion of changing up pricing in a way where there's a platform fee plus usage-based. So we're always kind of thinking through what that might look like. And it really depends on the size of the brand as well. A smaller brand with a list of 10,000 versus a brand of 1 million, there are going to be extremely different use cases for that. So, still to this day, not too much churn. We'll see what that looks like at kind of critical mass. But I think if we have those playbooks and that educational aspect in place, it's going to be a lot easier for them to find ways to use it, especially with results from other brands and kind of templates.
And at this point, we're just going to talk a little bit about what you thought about the pitches and liked and anything, maybe even a little feedback to folks when they watch, like what they could have done better or anything like that, or what you liked about the pitch for folks that kind of are out there being founders thinking about pitching. Go ahead, Robbie.
I liked both of them. I was impressed that they sort of had command of their business. I mean, they could answer questions. They weren't hemming and hawing. They weren't bullshitting. Sorry. They were,
PG.
they were just very forthright and didn't seem to be rattled by anything, which is nice. And comfortable in some cases saying they didn't know, which is the right thing to do, which is instead of making it up. Delivery, I understand it, but I am not in that space like you guys. So I had to bow to, the knowledge of what does it take to put all that together. I know enough about it to be dangerous, but not enough about it to really, dig down. InviteJet, I was like, what? When I first saw it, I was like, I don't want any more crap in my inbox or anything. I don't need that. But as they explained it and their experience, and they come from different, they have their co-founders, but that's a whole different issue. But they come from it from, different ways, but all with great experience. So I think it's a tough one to choose.
All right. MJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, first I'll echo some of Robbie's comments, which is I remember, obviously not in this kind of setup that you've done, but back in the day pitching people like Jason and others.
What's your 10-year plan?
Right. I still haven't figured out the 10-year plan yet. I will say this, I felt like I always continually learn like every pitch, and you're always honing it to get better and better. And I feel incredibly confident in this statement. The people that we watched pitch today were probably better than I ever was. So I'm actually very impressed at the level.
I agree with that. Not for you, but for all of us.
I also think
Robbie agrees strongly.
Right, exactly. You were.
They were just great.
I also agree that they had a really good handle of any questions that you asked, so they clearly understood not only their business but had actually talked to about how they would answer questions, and one that had two folks there. What I also find interesting, not just the space. Maybe this is an unfair comment, but when I think about both companies, it becomes kind of obvious to me that both get acquired by someone attempting to do something that they want to do and that they've kind of built up. And it's also interesting to me that they both have sort of thought that way already, that's kind of likely an outcome, which is pretty mature and pretty rare as well.
I think for me, like, yes, I agree with the people, the pitch, all great. I think the other thing here too, for both companies, is like the capital efficiency is really strong. And I look at a company like Deliveri or InviteJet. I mean, they both gotten pretty far for raising a small amount of capital. What's your term you call it, Scott?
Seed strapping.
Yeah, there we go. So I think it's, I was really impressed. InviteJet getting to 35 customers with like a small amount of capital in is absolutely outstanding. And I think best of class. So I think that's kind of the thing that stood out for me here.
30 years ago, you would not have seen this quality of things coming on. And so it's really neat to see that happen over an arc of time. But got to write the check here. Jason, we do this last name by alphabetical. So being a C, you're up first. So you gotta pick Deliveri or InviteJet. What are you going with?
InviteJet.
Okay. All right. And then H is next. Robbie.
I love that you're going through the alphabet right now live in your head.
Yeah.
Well,
It's okay.
I keep thinking it's wrong for some reason, but I don't think it is. Yes.
H.
InviteJet.
Okay. So you going?
It makes three.
All right. Unanimous. Okay. All right.
I mean, these guys just all did their work. I mean, they rolled up their sleeves. I mean, this is what you like to see. You know, it's sort of like when they're bootstrapping it and they're figuring it all out and they're not hiring a bunch of people to do stuff for them and then they don't know what they're doing.
So the no CEO thing didn't slow you guys down at all? Or
They'll sort it out.
Lack of
They'll sort it out.
They'll sort it out.
They'll sort it
They-
out.
They
yeah.
do go to church together. So
Well, there you go. There's help.
I don't know if
I
that-
will say this though. I feel like in things like this, when you see other companies, it's usually pretty obvious to you who you pick. And I know the three of us just picked one company, so it may seem like it's a no-brainer. I feel like that delivery company, it's going to do well.
Oh, I
really
agree.
do. Like there's absolutely a future there and a good leader, and there's no doubt in my mind that will be a successful company.
So congrats to InviteJet and Deliveri. You did an awesome job as well. Just maybe a little bit behind on the customer success and that kind of thing, which is like hard part of this early stage. There's little gradients there and things make a big difference. So thanks guys for your time and everything you do for the community. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
And just like that, another company moves one step closer to a $25,000 investment from the Triangle Tweener Fund. The competition is heating up, and the Fabulous Four is next. Who will rise, who will fall, and who will claim the ultimate prize? This episode was edited and produced by Walk West. Want to follow more of the action? Visit tweenermadness.com and follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more.